Hello and welcome to the May Positive Images Festival Poetry Workshop. Thank you as always to Colin, Meru and everyone at Positive Images Festival for supporting these workshops, and thank you to all of you who tune in, watch them and subscribe and share them. So if you've joined for the first time and you want to watch back at some of the others, you can go to the workshops folder playlist on YouTube, and you'll be able to view them going back a year and a half on there, one a month. So this is our accessible session. We don't go into so much depth into the meaning of every line of the poem. We just have a read through, see how we feel about it, and then write something inspired by it, and we take it at a gentle pace. So this poem is by Anonymous, so we don't know who wrote it, but it is called Mr. Nobody. I know a funny little man, as quiet as a mouse, who does the mischief that is done in everybody's house. There's no one ever sees his face, and yet we all agree that every plate we break was cracked by Mr. Nobody. 'Tis he who always tears our books, who leaves the door ajar. He pulls the buttons from our shirts and scatters pins afar. That squeaking door will always squeak, for prithee don't you see? We leave the oiling to be done by Mr. Nobody. He puts damp wood upon the fire that kettles cannot boil. His feet are the feet that bring in mud and all the carpet soil. The papers always are mislaid. Who had them last but he? There's no one tosses them about but Mr. Nobody. The finger marks upon the door by none of us are made. We never leave the blinds unclosed to let the curtains fade. The ink we never spill, the boots that lying round you see, are not our boots, they all belong to Mr. Nobody. So I don't know by who or when that poem was written. We know, we can tell from the language in it that it was written quite a while ago. You know, I guess maybe 20s, 30s, 40s, potentially earlier, because of some of the language in it. Tis we don't say anymore. Prithee, meaning please, we don't use. And of course the way the sentences are formatted would sound odd in modern poetry. That every plate we break was cracked. We wouldn't start the sentence with that. Trying to find another example for you. Who had them last but he? Nobody speaks like that anymore. We wouldn't write that in poetry. We'd say, who was the last person to have them? It must have been him, or something more poetic than that. But you take my point. So we can tell-ish when it was written just from looking at the language. That said, this is still a fantastic poem, and even though we're not boiling our kettles on open fire anymore, we can tell that we know what they're talking about, we relate to it. It's, you know, who moved the car keys, who put the odd sock in the wash, those sorts of things that are our problems that Mr. Nobody causes us in our house. So if you want to have a listen back over that poem again, feel free to you know, rewind and do that. Otherwise, we'll go straight onto the activity, which is carry on the poem. What does Mr. Nobody do in your house? So can you continue it for a couple more stanzas or longer? You can rhyme it and try and keep to the same form if you want to, or you can create your complete own version of it that doesn't rhyme or doesn't use the same syllable counts. And alternatively, or as a separate activity, perhaps you could write a different poem, one that's completely your own, about Mrs. Anybody or Ms. Somebody or everybody, but using one of those words, anybody, everybody, somebody, nobody, to have a play around with and create a poem. If this is where you stop for this month's workshop, then thank you for popping by, and I hope you enjoy having a go at that activity. If you like to stay and watch the full session that's got 3 longer activities in it, then stick with me and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye for now.